Looking for jobs when you're in college or just graduated can be a real nightmare. When I first graduated, I had no idea what I was doing, and I ended up just falling into this rut of doing seasonal job after seasonal job. This video is going to go over pretty much the biggest tips that I have to avoid these mistakes if you're somebody that's interested in going into the federal field or just looking at it. In this video, I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to not only find good job postings for the federal government, but assess the quality of them, as well as give you 3 cool career tracks that I've learned about and tell you what they do. Hi, I'm Danny, and this is Ecology Story Mode. Now, in the federal service, there's seasonal jobs and then there's full-time jobs. If you're a recent graduate, what you probably want to do is look at full-time jobs. A lot of people will tell you that you have to go into the seasonal work before you do that. That's a complete and total myth. Most of the people that I've met that have full-time jobs in the federal services got their bachelor's degree and went straight into their full-time job and raised through the ranks. Now, the best job services that are in the federal government are going to allow you to not only raise the fastest, but also go the highest in your federal service. Now, the first thing that you want to look for when you apply to jobs is looking for a job that takes you from 5 to 9 or 5 to 11. When you go to the bottom of the job posting, it'll show you all the different ranks that you could potentially qualify for. Now, if you're just out of college, you don't have to worry if you're only applying for a GS5, because what that shows you is what your actual increase in grade is going to be every single year. So if you apply to a job that's GS5 through 9 or GS5 through 11, each year you're going to go 5, 7, 9, and then if you apply to one that has an 11, all the way up to 11. This has the benefit of taking you to a higher salary in the federal government at a quicker pace and allowing you to progress more. The other thing that I think makes these job postings really good is that they'll allow you to get all the way up to the top ranks of the federal services without having to go back to school to get a master's degree. All of these jobs, by the way, are going to have the same pay range regardless of which field you go into. The only things that are really going to impact the amount of money you make on these jobs is how much you get to work with something like fire, as well as where you live. If you live in the middle of nowhere or a really small town, you're probably going to make about $36K your first year. If you find one of these jobs in a bigger city or a bigger metropolitan area, you can make as much as $50K your first year and then just continue to go up from there. Now, the first job on this list is going to be Natural Resource Specialist. This job is for you if you like working on restoration projects and wetland areas, if you want to work in riparian areas with plants, fish, other animals. This job is going to give you a lot of unique opportunities to work with a lot of different sensitive resources and sensitive habitats, mostly focused around wetland, riparian areas, sometimes mining sites, and things of that kind. What will you be doing, you might ask? This job is generally a 50-50 split between being in the field and being in the office. When you're in the field, you're probably going to be looking at things like surveying fish, looking at browsing patterns in riparian areas, and doing different forms of measurement to assess the stability of stream banks, as well as looking at the evolution of streams over time and rivers and lakes or whatever else is in the area that you work. The other 50% of the time, you're going to be in the office and you're going to be writing up plans to do things like restoration projects, maybe enclosures for areas that you think are sensitive and getting overbrowsed or something, as well as just looking at general management. If there's recreation or grazing going on in the area, things that can reduce the impact over time. Now, the second job on this list is going to be Soil Conservationist. If you've taken a soils class, that O horizon on top is pretty much most of the work that you're going to be doing in this job. You're going to perform land and soil surveys, and your real focus is going to be working on one of the biggest issues that's plaguing the entire United States and the entire world, and that's soil loss. Topsoil loss specifically, you're going to be working with agricultural lands because in order for us to get food, we need to have organic matter in the soil, and right now we're losing a lot of that at a depressingly fast rate. And so the recommendations that you're going to make and the things that you're going to put into place are going to help prevent erosion, do restoration work on agricultural land that allows farmers to change their land over to wetland or something else like that and gives them a little bit of money instead of growing crops if they're getting older or just don't want to do that anymore, or if they're really concerned about conservation. If you're passionate about the agricultural landscape of the United States and just having sustainable food, this is a great job for you. The third job on this list is going to be Range Management / Range Conservationist. The two different names are really just depending on what location and what agency you apply to. Now, this job's for you if you like the environment and you want to be a cowboy. Your main responsibilities on this job are going to be to look at upland botany, and you're going to make measurements doing things like stubble height surveys and just identification, to look at utilization by grazing from either cattle or other stuff, depending on if it's a wilderness or grazing land. You're going to use this data to make management plans for wilderness areas as well as grazing pastures that are used by cattle. This is an awesome job in my mind because not only do you get to do stuff like work with fire and other resources around the area, you also get to work with people like the natural resources specialists and get involved in things that are restoration plans and other things, and you just get a really large scope of things that you get to do, as well as just enjoying your day on the prairie. For those of you that are in college and not in the know, pretty much 30% of the US landmass is used for grazing right now. I hope this video helps you find your way when it comes to looking for jobs and potentially choosing one of the federal services. If this is the kind of video that you like, I'm planning on making a lot more of these. Comment any questions or suggestions that you have. Like the video, subscribe to my page if you want to see more, and I hope you have a good day.